people, what's good? So, I'm back in LA. And this is gonna be all the events leading up to me coming back home with a few extras, right? So, last video I did, I was still living with my homeboy, one of my closest friends, right? Like I mentioned before, this has been my roommate. We've been friends since going into college, so it's been like 10 years now. But what happened with that, basically, without giving y'all too much detail about my boy's personal life, shit just wasn't working, job wise. We couldn't afford to stay where we were. And that was it, right? That happened in August, right? So, probably had like 2 months notice that, was going to have to find other living arrangements, right? And initially the plan was to move back home, right? No biggie, start over again, come back, save some more money, either, move back or find a spot out here in expensive ass LA. But, that was the plan. But probably, what's the month before August? July. Sometime in early July, me and my ex, Trey, we was back on speaking terms. There was no like wrongdoing on either side with me and him. It's just where our issues began was mostly with communication and trying to understand each other, right? He's not very in tune with his own emotions or, at reading the emotions of others. So a lot of times I would have to walk him through that, and I would get frustrated with like trying to be understood from an emotional standpoint, like why I feel this way. And even like he said before, doesn't always understand why he feels a certain way, or I'll get to that part. But yeah, the emotional understanding was not always there, like love dude, try to be there for him as best I can. But that was one of the main reasons we didn't work at first. Also, on top of that, he actually, that came later. I was gonna say he doesn't like being touched all like that much, and I'm a very affectionate person, but that I heard that while we were together, but he was never that way while we were together. You feel me? That part of him only really showed when we were separated, right? Now he don't want me to touch him no more, be near him, give him affection, love, all that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, communication, emotional understanding, that kind of stuff. Those were the main disconnects between us, right? But we were back on speaking terms, and this was, early July. And, I told him I was moving back home. He was like, oh, I'm gonna miss you, blah, blah, blah. And while we were together, we had plans, on moving in, even though, we wasn't together that long. We was still in the honeymoon phase. But honestly, even in that, when you in the honeymoon phase, you all lovey-dovey, you can't get enough of this person, right? But even during that, it just felt like it made sense, Yeah, for both of us. But yeah, so we were talking, and I basically brought up, I was like, you still want to move in together? I was saying it as a joke, but also I wanted to see where his head was at, right? So I was like, you still want to move in together? He was like, hell yeah. And this is all through text. But yeah, so it was, from a financial standpoint, it also made sense, right? Even though, we weren't together, nothing like that. And yes, I know, moving in with your ex, bad idea, right? But we both mature adults, even if, the emotional understanding wasn't always there, you feel me, and we were broken up, we're still both intelligent people. We're still able to communicate logically, like on a logical standpoint, we can understand each other, right? So financially, it made sense, right? And his lease was gonna be up. He was paying a lot for where he was living, right? So he was happy to have some help, and his lease was gonna be up in. At the time, we thought it was like mid-November. It turns out it was mid-December. But yeah, so it made sense from that point of view, right? So I move in. This was also like right before I move in. I got my boy. I got a puppy whose name is Boogie. There he is. But yeah, I got him right before like moving in over there, and he's fine with it. I didn't know at the time that he was allergic to dogs, but Boogie's hypoallergenic, so it all worked out. But yeah, so I move in, I get all my stuff, I get my fish, move the tanks over there. I had a lizard, but she passed like shortly before moving over there. But yeah, got all my animals, got the TV bed, dresser, everything else. Got all my stuff, moved. It only took like 2 trips to move all my stuff into his place, and he stays in Lithonia, right? Which is about where I was living before. I was only about 10 minutes from my job. In Lithonia, it was about 45 minutes to an hour from my job. So not ideal, but like I said, at least we was planning to get another place when his lease was up, right? Somewhere that was more affordable for both of us and nicer, right? So yeah, I move in with the baby. He has a few accidents in the house. It's not a big deal. He doesn't trip. I'm more pissed about it than he is, naturally, but anyway, he's potty training, get him situated, get all his shots and everything, and we just chilling for a while. You feel me? Obviously, we gonna have little spats. You always gonna have those when you're living with someone, and he also has like a little bit of OCD, so he's used to having his own space. It's fine, I get it. But we got into a few arguments about, he likes things very, very neat, right? I'm sleeping on the couch at this time, and when I get up in the morning, usually I would make my bed, right? But I'm sleeping on the couch. I'm not really, cognizant. It's a couch. It's the couch and a blanket, right? But he gets, I don't know, a little upset about me leaving the blanket when I wake up and go to work, right? I just leave the blanket on the couch, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. I can fold the blanket before I leave. Start doing that. But he wants the blanket folded a specific way, right? Now, I can handle, having to make things orderly before I leave. But when you start to micromanage me, I don't think anyone likes being micromanaged, but I hate that shit. You feel me? That's some shit my mom would do, and I feel like moms do in general. But you're not about to. It was like that with the blanket, and then also one time, I wanted him to show me how to cook how to make salmon a certain type of way because he makes good salmon, right? So I told him to show me the recipe and all this, but again, micromanaging over my shoulder, this way, that way. No, you got to do it this way. No, you got to do it this way. My way is fine. My way is fine, right? But you can't really tell that to someone who has OCD. Not in the way that look, I don't have OCD, so I will never truly understand, but I know what OCD is. You feel me? Anyway, so we got in a few little spats about that, right? Eventually, I just give in because I'm trying to be understanding of his condition that, like I said, I will never truly understand, but I'll do my best to just keep things chill, right? So I start folding blanket his way, and that's that. Let's see. I moved in August. Probably okay. So let's say 2 months in. 2 months in, we've been on good terms. It's a look. Like I said, we're not together no more, right? So he says he doesn't want me to touch him or anything like this. Me being me, I can pick up on the subtleties, your words not matching your energy, all that kind of shit. So I'm always trying to be all over him and love on him and give him affection and all this. Claim he don't want it. Try and push me away. But not really. Because he don't get really upset when I'm loving on him and touching on him and all that. And there were with your ex, right? Y'all still got feelings for each other. Y'all still attracted to each other. We fucked twice, not consecutively. It was like we fucked once, and then he was like, "Oh, you're never touching me again." Okay. And then maybe a few weeks go by, we fuck again, right? Between that, I'm over here rubbing on his booty, giving him rubs and all this kind of stuff. But he'll be hot, then cold, which at a certain point I got fed up with, right? Because about 2 months in, he comes home and, there's a certain point where I was really depressed because I was looking for jobs. Like I was applying for hella jobs. Like I'd applied for at least 20 plus jobs within the span of 2 weeks, right? And I wasn't getting that many replies, or the replies I was getting back were all, we're moving on with other candidates or something like this, right? So I was going through it trying to, cause I was working, you feel me? I just wasn't making the amount of money that I wanted to make, because, side note, I was up for promotion at my job, right? And the way my manager told me was like, if you want the job, it's yours, right? And that was cool. And maybe a couple days before I was supposed to start training, his energy changes, and he's like, "Oh, well, we're interviewing other candidates." And I'm like, "You told me one thing, and now it's some other shit, right?" Long story short, someone else got the job last minute because they had 2 more years experience than me. Whatever. I was pissed at the time. Don't matter. Even thinking about it now, it still pisses me off. But, things happen for a reason. There's better shit out there. We moving on, right? But yeah, after that, I was looking for a lot of jobs that was gonna pay me what I was expecting to be paid with the promotion. I was expecting I was gonna be making like $30 an hour, right? So that's what I was looking for, mostly like manager positions and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. So I was a little down because shit just was not going my way, right? But eventually I got over that. We always bounce back. And there's one night that he comes home, right? And he's really depressed because, he's also having, his financial issues, trying to pay for things and eat healthy and do all this other stuff. And there could have been something else on his mind at the time. I wasn't really sure, but he comes home and he just all over me. And, he's sad. He wants affection, love, all this kind of stuff. Things that he would say, he doesn't want. Right? But he comes home, he's sad, he's all over me, and I had to, it was nighttime, but I had to go get something. I don't know what the fuck I had to do, but I had to go somewhere to get something. It was like real quick. But he's trying to be all over me, right? And I told him, I had to go. I was like, okay, I'll be right back. I'm, giving him kisses, all this, like I'm here for you. I got you. Right? So I go, and within like 5 minutes of me leaving, he's like, I just want to be under you, and texting me all this mushy, gushy, I just want to be around you. I just want you, all this kind of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. You finally saying all the things I knew you've been wanting to say, but for whatever reason, you weren't, right? So I get back, and, I think I get back and he's like half asleep or whatever. But I just come, I get a blanket, and he was from my perspective, he was asleep, right? So I just come, I get him a blanket, and he was asleep on the floor, right? And the couch is like, right next to him. But I get a blanket, cover him, and then I get on the couch next to him because I don't want to disturb him, right? And then at some point in the night, he wakes up, he's tossing and turning. I carry him to the bed, right? And I get in bed with him, but I'm not like on him. You feel me? I'm just, just trying to make sure he's okay, right? But then the next morning comes, and he's back to being cold, right? He's not in emotional distress anymore or anything like that. And he just like, you don't want me to touch him again. He's very, I'm trying to give him love. He just a wall. You feel me? And that shit pissed me off because I didn't tell him at the time, right? But I was pissed, naturally, right? Because like, what? That's just hella mixed signals, right? But I didn't want to engage the situation. I wasn't trying to start a fight or anything like that. I'm like, all right, you want to act like nothing happened. You want to be, cold, nonchalant, whatever. I'm going to just go for a walk, right? Take the dog, go for a little hike around the mountains. I collect my thoughts, and then I just send him a text, right? So I'm like, hey, I don't know what last night was about, but I can't keep doing this back and forth with you, these mixed signals. So we just got to keep it casual from now on. And what he texted me back got me even more pissed because he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you really finna gaslight me right now? Like, so this situation was all kinds of left for me, right? So I had to walk that off. I had to walk that off. Had my music in, went for a long ass hike. And then I go back to the crib. I'm straight up ignoring this nigga at this point, right? But like I said, even though I got over the the whole job situation, bottom line, I wasn't making the kind of money I wanted to, right? So I was also looking for jobs back home and all that kind of stuff. And I'd applied to work for FEMA, right? Following the Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene. I don't know. They was like back to back. But I had applied to work for FEMA, and once my background check cleared, I was, basically good to go. And they start you off, FEMA is, it's a government agency, so they pay you like $32 an hour, right? Working for them. And then on top of that, you get, I was applying to be an inspector, right? Inspecting people's houses for damage so they can get their check from the government, right? All that kind of stuff. So it's like $32 an hour on top of like $41 per inspection that you complete, right? So great money. Plus they cover, all your expenses. They reimburse you for travel time. They get your plane ticket, they get your lodging, all that kind of stuff, right? So great gig. But yeah, in late October, I get like the green light, go ahead saying, I gotta deploy within like 2 weeks, I think, yeah. So I was like, cool, shit, I get to get the fuck out of here and make some good money. That was on my only focus at that point, right? And like I said, we had been keeping it casual because I couldn't do the whole gaslighting, hot and cold situation no more. Like that wasn't finna work for me. So yeah, so I basically tell him, I'm finna leave. I tell him, I'm finna leave. And he's like, okay, cool. And it gets closer to the time for me to go. And shit gets pretty real. We were on, decent terms at this point. I think he never really recognized that night, what I'm talking about, for what it was. But he apologized and saying, it's like, I don't really understand what you were getting at, but, I'm sorry if I made you feel this and this and that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Knowing you, that's the best I'm gonna get, right? So we, after that, we were on speaking terms again. We were cool, right? It was cool. But it gets close to time for me to go, and I'm leaving. I want to go, not go out with a bang, but like I'm trying to do shit. I'm trying to get fucked up. I'm trying to have fun, all this kind of shit. So I hit the plug for the shrooms, right? Because one of the things that we did when we was together, we got high on shrooms a few times, and it was great. I don't know if y'all ever been on shrooms with your nigga, your boo, your lover, whoever. Best. It's just, yeah, it's just another dimension. Best. Like, it's difficult explaining shroom trips beyond like the basic physical stuff. Shit gets kind of trippy, but just like the feeling, it's just euphoric. You feel me? Not in a sexual way or anything like that. You just on cloud nine. Like when you're in a good headspace, I would not recommend shrooms for anyone who is depressed and can't get out of that. You feel me? But like if you're in a good headspace, you got some things you're looking forward to, you got someone who you love, whatever, do shrooms. Treat yourself, for real. Anyway, yeah, so shrooms is one of the things that we did when we was together, and I was like, okay, I'm leaving. Don't know if I'm really ever gonna see you again. I might as well do shrooms, right? And by this time, I had started packing up my car because I was driving back to LA. I got to take all my shit, right? So I had to take my babies, my fish, to a store, you know, make sure they taken care of. I had to break down his kennel and all that kind of stuff. So it was getting real, you feel me? Like the apartment was starting to look different with my stuff in there, or without my stuff in there. And yeah, so we decided to do shrooms. And even before doing that, you know, he was like, you know, are you gonna forget about me? He's like, I might never see you again. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe not. I wasn't that, you know, cold with it. I was just like, yeah, maybe, just casual, right? But yeah, so we do shrooms, and I guess shrooms make you a little touchy feely, kind of. I don't know. It might depend on who you with, but you know, being that our relationship was what it was, all all the anger, resentment, whatever, you know, I or he might have been holding on to at the time, it's just gone. You feel me? And we were just enjoying each other's company, you know, listening to music on the floor. He was on top of me, and I was just feeling on him, and just all over each other. You feel me? And not like we were about to fuck or anything, but like, yeah, shrooms just make you very, at least for me, I don't know. It's a little bit different person to person, but just like physical touch, you feel me, is, I don't know. It's hard to describe the exact feeling, but yeah, touchy feely. So I was laying down on the carpet, and he was on top of me, and I was just, you know, feeling his arms and what do they call that? Nuzzling him, smelling him, all that kind of shit. And I don't know, maybe like 30, 45 minutes into the trip, I just started crying. Uncontrollably. You feel me? I know that it was partly because, like I said, shit was getting real, and all the ups and downs, whatever, you know, no matter, we wasn't together, you know, I still have love for him, and with Big Boy over there and all that kind of stuff, it felt like family. You feel me? Like we had really become a family. You know, he would take care of little man when I wasn't there, and that kind of stuff. And you know, to him, that's his other dad. You feel me? Or you know, have her dogs see their people. But yeah, so I just started crying, and I couldn't stop. Right, and he was tearing up too. You feel me? And being on shrooms, I was crying, and like I said, I couldn't stop, but I also could not speak. You feel me? Like I was literally incapable of speaking because he kept asking me what was wrong, and I could not say it because it was like speaking it would be like, speaking it would be like making it too real. I don't know. But I was crying for probably a good 20, 30 minutes. Like I cried my high away. You feel me? Like it was so much like outpouring of emotion. You feel me? And this was not like boo-hoo. This was like ugly crying. Like I had to blow my nose several times. My eyes were red. You feel me? Yeah, but I couldn't do nothing but just hold this nigga and cry. And he cried with me. You feel me? But like I said, after 20, 30 minutes, I was able to get a hold of myself. And like I said, he was crying, but not as bad as I was, right? And like we got back down, like we was back down on the carpet by the couch, and like I'm here and he's here facing the opposite direction, because I couldn't look at him without crying. You feel me? So, I was able to get a hold of myself, and I was still like, we were still holding on to each other. But he gets up, right, and he goes to the kitchen, and I'm just, I'm starting to get up and all that. But he goes to the kitchen. I'm not paying attention to what he's doing. I just know he's in the kitchen. And he comes back with this note, and it says, "Please don't leave me. I love you." And then he just breaks down wailing, like, yeah, like I was 20 minutes before. This, like, it got, I was, okay, but I was also, like, I took like 2 seconds to read it, and then he was just bawling, crying. I was just like, I just held him, and he's over here telling me, he's like, I'm sorry, I really tried. I'm not perfect, and all this kind of stuff. And he was explaining to me he didn't think that I felt like he was good enough for me, because there was a point in our relationship where I had told him because of his lack of emotional understanding and to a certain extent apathy, like what I said was, I can't claim you, which sounds bad now, kind of. I wish I had the exact message to say, because I tried to word things in a way that, will convey my entire message, because it wasn't just like, I can't claim you. It was like, this and this and this makes me feel like I can't claim you. You feel me? I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just trying to make him understand. Like, when I write things, I feel like, if someone were to send this to me, like, I would understand. You feel me? Like, I wouldn't take it, too personal, or this kind of stuff. But it's always, from my own perspective. You feel me? But from his perspective, that really hurt him, and it was something he had brought up before. But yeah. So yeah, he was just, breaking down, crying, and explaining to me his feelings and all this. And yeah. So we before that, like, when I first moved back in, obviously I brought up, like, I asked him, I was like, there's no part of you that wants to try again? And at the time he was like, no, right? But after, going through all that, and at the end of the trip, he was like, he want me to himself and all this kind of stuff. And the love, I'll say the love that we have for each other, that's undeniable. And like I said, he was explaining to me, I'm trying, I'm not perfect. And I'm over here holding him and I'm like, all we can do is try. You feel me? Like none of us have this figured out. And I know that to other people maybe, or just an outsider looking in, I would say I don't think I have high expectations because I just want to be understood. I want someone who's emotionally intelligent like myself, right? But for someone who is not on that level, yet for various reasons, I know it can feel like my expectations are pretty high. And I explained it as much. I told him, I was like, that's also something you'll find on like when you look up traits of like a Leo or whatever, it'll say like in a relationship they have high expectations. So from other people's perspective, I guess, I can understand that. But I explained it to him that much and I was like, all we can do is try. And yeah, so still had to leave. You feel me? I went to work for FEMA, flew out to Orlando, did my thing. I got in at like the end of the, cleanup and request for aid and all that kind of stuff. So I was only there for like a week and a half. And then, my bad. I drove back home 32 hours. Then I flew out to Orlando, right? So I was out there working, inspecting houses for about a week and a half. Then I came back home and, now we here. And we trying to do the long distance things for a little bit, right? And I've been in this boat before. Long term, it's not sustainable, right? But as of right now, we're not seriously looking at places together, but we plan on living together. You feel me? And giving this thing our best shot. Feel me? That's all anyone can do. You feel me? And I'll say he's done like a complete 180 because as where he was apathetic from my perspective, where he was, apathetic and cold and not really understanding. Now he just mushy gushy, my baby, I love you, all this kind of stuff, which is still taking some getting used to, because even when we were together, he wasn't this lovey-dovey. You feel me? And it's the qualities that a lot of the qualities that I will ask for, have asked for, have looked for in a partner. And what he explains is just like the shrooms unlocked something within him or allowed him to get past like a mental block that he had. And like I know how shrooms can affect people. I know they can help people like get over addictions and all this kind of stuff. Like psychedelics are a mental therapy for people who need it. I wasn't expecting just like this change. You feel me? But yeah. But yeah, we good now. You feel me? Like It's only been few weeks since I left. And you know, we're looking at the future together. You feel me? But I'm gonna leave it there for right now. More details to come. Don't expect to see me soon, because I don't know when I'm gonna upload again. If I'm gonna upload again, y'all know the drill by now. Like I'll be MIA, then I'll be back. It just is what it is. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what y'all think. If y'all have been in similar situations or had like similar trips or shit like this happen to you, you feel me? Like, tell me what's up. I always love hearing y'all stories. You feel me? But I'll catch y'all on the next one. Okay.